going on, guys? Ryan O'Toole back here again for episode 12 of the Endgame series and the final episode of Phase 2 of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Thank you guys so much for watching the previous episode, Avengers Age of Ultron with Austin Putnam. It's very well appreciated. And now we're talking about the final film in Phase 2, which is Ant-Man, directed by Peyton Reed, starring Paul Rudd as Ant-Man, Evangeline Lilly, Michael Douglas, Michael Pena, and Corey Stoll as the Yellowjacket. And guys, I have an awesome guest right here with me. He's been on the channel before. He was one of the competitors of Rotten or Fresh, Season 2, Episode 2. And I think he's a really good YouTuber. He's one of my dedicated subscribers. He's always commenting on my videos and showing his support for this series and to my channel. You guys should know who this guy is. That is Jack Benner from Jack Benner Movie Reviews. Jack, what's going on, man? Thanks for taking part in the series.
Hey, what's up, Ryan? Thanks for having me back on your channel. Really excited to be part of the Endgame series. Been really enjoying them so far. Excited to be talking about Ant-Man with you.
Before we talk about Ant-Man and say how much fun of a film it is, we want you to chime in down below in the comments section and let us know your thoughts on Ant-Man. Do you love it, think it's okay, or do you absolutely hate it? We want to know what you guys have to say about this film. And so, I'm ready. Jack is ready. Let's talk about Ant-Man.
Woohoo!
So, Jack, my first question to you is my same question. What was your first experience with Ant-Man? Did you read any of the comic books? Did you know who Ant-Man was? And when did you see this movie in theaters?
I remember when this movie was coming out. I remember when Edgar Wright was involved with this film, and just the thought of that, Edgar Wright directing an MCU movie, I'll just be like, just so excited that no matter what the MCU film would be, just Edgar Wright directing, just excited instantly. But was sad when I heard that Edgar Wright left the film due to creative differences, and that really made me sad since he's one of my favorite filmmakers and would be so excited to see him direct an MCU movie. That would have been awesome. And I didn't know about Ant-Man. I never read any of the comics, and when I heard they were making like an Ant-Man movie, it was like, Ant-Man, really? Yeah, and this was probably, and this was like the same time when it's like came out after Guardians of the Galaxy, and this was like the time when Marvel was experimenting with characters that the public didn't really know about that much and making entertaining movies about them. And I saw this movie in theaters in 2015. I really enjoyed it, and rewatching the film last night, I still enjoy it. It holds up well.
I'm just like you, man. Never heard of Ant-Man before. I've never read the comic books. And so when I found out that Paul Rudd, that man right there, was cast as Scott Lang / Ant-Man, the first question you come to your mind is, okay, Paul Rudd is that guy from Anchorman. How could he play a superhero? This is not going to work. This is going to be Marvel's first failure. And at first I thought Guardians would be their first failure. And this is where I was like, okay, Marvel, now you've tipped the cake a little bit. But then I saw the teaser trailer and I shut up. And I was excited to see this movie. And I really, really loved Ant-Man when it came out in 2015. That was one of my top 10 favorite films of 2015. I loved it more than Age of Ultron, which is kind of controversial, but I really enjoyed the movie. Hearing that Edgar Wright might direct this movie, you may think, oh yeah, Edgar Wright, he's such a great director. The Cornetto trilogy, he can make this awesome.
Scott Pilgrim versus the World.
And Scott Pilgrim, yes, and Baby Driver as well. But then he was fired, and they brought on the Bring It On director, Peyton Reed. He did a good job. Peyton Reed did a fantastic job with this movie. And yeah, I saw this opening night with a bunch of my friends, and we all had a blast with it. So, Jack, that brings me to my second question, man. What was your first impression on Marvel releasing this movie at the time? Because, like you said, this was at the time where Marvel was taking a lot of risks, especially with Guardians of the Galaxy. That was a huge hit. What was your impression of them releasing this film? Could it work?
A superhero that shrinks wouldn't have worked, but it somehow did. I believe it's like due to like the great cast, the action, the effects, and the hilarious comedy that make this a really fun movie. and surprised how much this worked.
This was at the time where Marvel was pretty much on a hiatus after Winter Soldier. I had a new expectation for the MCU after Winter Soldier came out because that movie was just beyond the roof big. It took the MCU to a new level. And Guardians worked, and this film worked as well. I mean, the characters were so good, the writing was so unique, the action sequences and the visual effects were so unique. A lot of the shrinking stuff were so cool. And this was a very clever concept for an MCU film that worked as a heist film as well. And I really enjoyed it. So, Patrick, let's talk about... Oh my God. I've done 2 Patricks. We'll keep that in for sure. I've already done this with 2 Patricks. All right, Jack. That's your name, Jack. What was the one thing that made this movie work? If you could pick one thing.
Oh, there are so many things that made this movie work. It's really hard to pick one in particular that stood out for this movie. But if I could go with one, I would probably say Paul Rudd. I thought he was a perfect choice as Scott Lang / Ant-Man. Not only is he hilarious as always, Paul Rudd is usually very funny, but he definitely did a good job making this character sympathetic, and you care about him whenever he gets in trouble and getting arrested with the police, and hard not to feel sorry for him. I just feel so sorry for him whenever he gets in trouble, and really want something good to happen for him. I really want him to redeem himself.
Paul Rudd was definitely one of the reasons why this movie works so well. And a lot of people don't pick Peyton Reed. I think Peyton Reed made this work extremely well. The fact that this movie was a heist movie was awesome. And it made Ant-Man such a small, grounded hero compared to the Avengers, like Iron Man, Captain America, Thor, and the Hulk. It wasn't that popular. This movie didn't do well box office-wise compared to the Avengers movies, and it worked very well. The heist elements were so awesome. It's a very funny movie, too. This is one of the funniest MCU films, and Paul Rudd's a funny guy. Michael Pena steals the show as well.
Yeah,
He's a very funny... Michael Douglas, too. Taking an iconic actor and making him funny, that's a hard task to do. And Marvel did it. And Evangeline Lilly is kick-ass as Hope Van Dyne, who becomes the Wasp and Ant-Man and the Wasp. It is so cool. I think the whole cast in general makes this film work extremely well.
Yeah, absolutely. Pitch perfect casting.
So you've already answered the question I wrote down here, Jack. What were you pissed Edgar Wright didn't direct this movie? And it was sad that he didn't direct it, but would you feel this movie would have been so much different if Edgar Wright did direct this?
Despite how much I enjoyed Ant-Man, after many times I've watched the film, I can't help but wonder what it would have been like if Edgar Wright had directed the film. And I did notice, like, in the narrating scenes where Michael Pena is narrating, which were absolutely hilarious.
Yes.
Definitely had his editing style, and luckily he still had, like, a story and writing credit, so I'm happy that they did give him a story and writing credit involved, but Peyton Reed did a good job. He was a very good replacement for Edgar Wright, but still imagine what Ant-Man would have been like had Edgar Wright directed it.
I didn't know if you know this, Jack, but you know Joe Cornish, the guy who directed Attack the Block, and The Kid Who Would Be King. He's one of the screenwriters as well, which I just found out yesterday, surprisingly.
Oh, cool.
So he's one of the screenwriters as well. I do wonder how different this would be if Edgar Wright directed it. It would have been so much different. He would have added all the things like Michael Pena's speeches whenever he's talking about his stories and all that. That feels very Edgar Wright, absolutely. And the action sequences feel Edgar Wright as well. And yeah, that question does stick with me. What if Edgar Wright had his touch on the film? Jack, what is your favorite scene in this film?
Oh, there's so many to choose from.
Yeah.
Gosh, tough question, but I think I do have an answer. I would say probably the scene that I do like doesn't have an action scene in it. It's where Hope and Scott are in the car and they talk about Scott's daughter Cassie and
Yep.
and how much he's trying to like be there for her, and also involving the scene where she tests Scott to make the ants pick up the penny, which I like that scene, and making me care about these characters and enjoying them, making them entertaining, learn about them. I do like that scene, and I feel like that's an underrated scene in my opinion.
I would have picked as well the scene where she's talking to Hank Pym, her father, Michael Douglas, about Janet and that she actually did save a bunch of lives and she finds out the truth. That was actually a very good scene. That's one of my favorite scenes. Then it just ends with Paul Rudd just saying, "This is awesome. You guys are breaking bonds." I ruined the moment, didn't I? I'm gonna make some. I love that.
Love that scene.
A lot of people can play that's like Marvel just ending it with a joke. That scene's funny. I love it. Paul Rudd makes
it was a pretty funny scene.
I like that.
And also heartfelt too.
Yes, very heartfelt. I also love many scenes with his daughter in the film. I thought she was great in the first Ant-Man, but my favorite scene is the Thomas the Tank Engine scene. That was my favorite scene by far.
I love that scene.
That scene is awesome.
Yellowjacket was like, and like Thomas the Tank Engine hits him, and the train falls, like cuts to like our point of view. It's like small scale action, and like what our point of view is. Like we saw that scene.
Yeah. And I just love the unique concepts of the shrinking in that scene. The Thomas the Tank Engine gets big, and then the ant and all that.
Yeah.
That's an ugly looking dog. That dog, Joe.
Big ant.
Yeah, that whole entire finale is some of the funniest things I've seen in MCU film. All right, so Jack, here's the tough task. What is your least favorite scene?
Ooh, least favorite scene? Probably any scene with the villain, Darren Cross, because this is a problem with most MCU movies. The villains just not that memorable in my opinion, and they tried to make him an interesting villain that Hank Pym, well, this was a former assistant to Hank Pym, and he became obsessed with the Pym particle, and would have been like an opportunity to maybe make him a compelling villain, but not very compelling and just a pretty forgettable villain in my opinion.
I have a least favorite scene from him. Oh, I cannot forget Falcon's cameo. That's also one of my favorites.
Oh, yes. Love Falcon's cameo.
We can't forget about that scene.
Love it.
How about the fact that I just beat up an Avenger and didn't die?
Yeah, that was a fun cameo and like a tie into Civil War with Ant-Man joining Team Cap.
Yes, we'll talk about that with the end credits scene for sure. That's definitely my... All right, let's talk about my least favorite scene. It's the scene where Corey Stoll, Yellowjacket, is shrinking the lambs. Again, it's pretty much just making you, okay, this guy is just, he's out of his mind. He's cuckoo.
Yeah.
Also the scene.
Evil guy.
Yeah, also the scene in... Yeah, also the scene where he's in the bathroom and he shrinks one of his associates because Frank disagrees with... Goodbye, Frank. Like, he's very much Obidiah Stain, 100%. And Corey Stoll's an awesome actor. He's a great actor. But, yeah, any one of those scenes are my least favorite, if I can think of one.
Yeah, and you mentioned Jeff Bridges' character from first Iron Man movie, and I can't help but think that this is a similar villain to Jeff Bridges in Iron Man. And
absolutely.
Pretty much doesn't become the Yellowjacket until the climax in the helicopter and they have a fight, and it was a little similar to the climax of the first Iron Man movie.
Yes. Yeah, let's talk about Yellowjacket, because that was going to be my next question. What was your opinion on Yellowjacket? What about this villain just didn't work overall? It just feels very similar to Obidiah Stain.
Yeah, he was a pretty weak villain, and like we said, he was a pretty similar villain to Obidiah in the first Iron Man. And just didn't quite make him most interesting or compelling villain. Like he's pretty much one of the examples of the villain problem in the MCU. It's like there's Loki, which is one of the great villains, but they haven't really made some of the best villains, some of the most memorable villains that aren't up to par with Loki, since Loki is such a great villain and a tough act to follow. Well, until later years when they made villains just as good as Loki. But this is one of the weaker MCU villains, in my opinion.
Definitely. He's not one of my least favorite, but he's in. If I ranked the MCU villains before, he was like my number 15 out of 22. He's definitely one of the forgettable ones for sure.
Yeah, one of the forgettable ones, in my opinion.
The generic ones for sure.
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
let's talk about my next question. Who's your favorite in the cast? If you weren't to pick Paul Rudd, who's another one of your favorites?
Oh, Michael Pena. He is just so hilarious in this movie. Yeah, especially, well, his narrating scenes and the scene where he's in a van picking up Scott from prison. My girl left me, my mom died, and my dad got deported. But I got the van. That was absolutely.
But I got the van.
Most optimistic character in the MCU.
Wait, I'm in the system? I'm in the system? Sorry, Scott, but your girlfriend's pretty. Sorry, miss you, beautiful.
His reaction when he first sees Scott's strength and on his shoulder, it's like, oh, you know me.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Michael Douglas. Michael Douglas was so awesome in this film.
Yeah.
I mean, when Hank Pym does get introduced, the opening scene, I praised this in Captain Marvel. Marvel does the best de-aging. The CGI is amazing. And I love the opening scene. It's all Hank Pym and S.H.I.E.L.D. in 1989. And then I just love the scene where he just takes the guy's face and he shoves him after he talks about Janet. You mention my wife again, and I'll show you ferocity. Yeah. And then the scene, and then they see each other again. It's like, hello, Dr. Pym. How's your face?
Love that.
I love that scene.
Michael Douglas is great. And again, just amazed what they do with the de-aging CGI. Michael Douglas, Kurt Russell in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, and recently Samuel Jackson is Captain Marvel.
And Clark Gregg, yeah.
Yeah, him too. It's just absolutely amazing what they do with the CGI. Just incredible.
Yes, and they do it again in Ant-Man the Wasp with Michelle Pfeiffer. It's crazy the amount of work that they do. The family problems with her and Hope. Him and Hope, it's such a great layer. Evangeline Lilly was also great. Even though we didn't really get to see a lot of Evangeline Lilly in this film, and we get a lot more of her in Ant-Man and the Wasp, just that family drama between them was really good, and I wanted a lot more of that. So, Jack, let's talk about an MCU ranking. Where does Ant-Man rank in your ranking?
I've been swinging both of them. It's like Thor Ragnarok and Ant-Man, both number 9 and number 10, been like switching around with them, and right now, I would say Ant-Man is right now at my number 9 ranking, so it's definitely in the top 10 for sure.
Yeah, I'm in the same ballpark. Ant-Man's my number 10 and Ragnarok's my number 9 right now. So we'll see when I rewatch Ragnarok which one I like more. So we're on the same ballpark.
Awesome.
All right. Now let's get to the final question that Jack has been excited to give his answer to. Jack, how will Ant-Man 2015 affect the Endgame?
Go. Ooh, I've been thinking about this for so long, and I'm finally ready to say it. But first, I want to talk about the mid-credit scene of Ant-Man and the Wasp, and so far the teaser trailer of Avengers Endgame. And what we know in Ant-Man and the Wasp is that Scott is stuck in a quantum realm. It's just like, what? The Ant-Man's in the quantum realm, and then to the Avengers Endgame trailer, and when we see Scott Lang, it's like, he's out of the quantum realm. It's like, what? Scott's out of the quantum realm? How did he get out? That wasn't the only time Scott has been stuck in the quantum realm. The first Ant-Man, when he defeated Yellowjacket, went subatomic, and he's been in the quantum realm. And how he got out of there, he took one of the blue discs and put it in the regulator, and back there, he's out of the quantum realm. So, rewatching the mid-credit scene of Ant-Man and the Wasp, I'm not sure if he had a blue disc, or maybe he did, or if he doesn't. Otherwise, just, he's in trouble, just stranded there in the quantum realm. I'm pretty sure he'll find a way out. So I think that's how Ant-Man will affect Endgames, like Scott trying to find a way out of the quantum realm. And I predict in Avengers Endgame, when we first see Ant-Man, I feel like that's where his first scene is, just probably him in the quantum realm just trying to find a way out. So you can see how he got out of the quantum realm.
That's a good prediction, man. Fantastic prediction. So we have no idea if that Endgame trailer's lying to us. If Scott actually did get out, we'll see. But so my prediction with how Ant-Man 2015 will affect the Endgame, definitely it comes down to Scott Lang. I think Scott's definitely going to have to use a lot of his robbery heist elements that he used in the first film. He's a very smart guy. He knows how to break into people's houses and steal shit. So he's going to use a lot of that advantages for Endgame. And like you said, in Ant-Man and the Wasp, when he's stuck in the quantum realm in the post-credit scene. And I think for him to try to figure out how to get out of it is he has to use his smarts and his ways to get out. And Captain Marvel's going to play a huge part in, I think, getting him out. And they're going to use quantum realm, space travel, time travel in this film. We have no idea if Michael Pena, Luis, turned to ash or not, but we do know, spoiler alert, we do know that Michael Douglas, Michelle Pfeiffer, and Evangeline Lilly all turned to dust at the end of Ant-Man and the Wasp 2. So he has no idea that they turned to dust. So it's going to all come down to Scott. Like, how is he going to use his smarts? And is he going to be smart enough to do so? And also, his daughter. With his daughter, we have no idea if she turned to dust as well. Probably. We'll see. But, yeah, I'm interested to see what they do with Ant-Man this time around and how he's going to be one of those core heroes to save the day and help everybody come back, including his friends.
Oh, love those theories. Love to see Scott use his robbery skills to in Endgame. That would be cool to see.
So yeah, guys, those were the answers to our questions for Ant-Man. So in the comment section below, let us know your answers. Do you have a completely different theory that we're completely missing? We would love to hear that from you guys down below in the comment section. And Jack, thank you so much, man, for joining the Endgame series and talking about Ant-Man with me. It's been a blast, man. And Jack, really quickly, tell my subscribers where they can find you on all your social media.
On YouTube, you can find me on YouTube at Jack Benner's Movie Reviews. If you want to check out my channel and subscribe, I'd happily appreciate it. And on Twitter, you can find me at Jack Benner MR, Jack Benner's Movie Reviews at Jack Benner MR. It's my username. Well, I used to have another Twitter account at JB's Movie Reviews, but I had some issues with that and just made a new one. And follow me at Jack Benner MR. And started an Instagram in January, and my username for Instagram is at JB's Movie Reviews. If you want to follow me on both Twitter and Instagram, I'd happily appreciate it.
Thank you so much for watching this episode, guys. Stay tuned next week because we're getting right into Phase 3 with Captain America Civil War with Sammy from Samuel One World Reviews. And then after that, we have Doctor Strange. And joining me for that is Chandler Langley. Some great Rotten or Fresh veterans. Look forward to those episodes. They're coming up. And thank you guys so much for watching this episode in the Endgame series. If you guys liked it, give it a thumbs up and be sure to subscribe today to me as well as Mr. Jack Benner. His channel link will be in the description below. Go check him out. He does a lot of movie content, movie reviews, and he loves film. And he's an awesome guy. All my social media links are in the description down below. Click that notification bell on your way out. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!